Without further ado, I'm going to bring to you Addison, Liberty, Patrick, back for round 3. Hey,
Hello. Thanks for having
what's
me. Good
going
to
on?
see all of you. Hello
You know what
again,
I'm thinking?
Michael. Hi, Joe. Hi, John. Nice to meet you.
Hello, hello.
I want to make a
So,
quick correction
and,
there. It's not an issue that she has with the Republican Party. The Republican Party has an issue with her.
oh, yeah, right. Yeah, yes. So I told you I was out of practice. I haven't done a show in a week. So you know what I was just thinking, Addison? In hockey, if you score 3 goals, it's called a hat trick.
Yes.
Henceforth, this is your 3rd time on. So henceforth, when somebody comes on my show 3 times, it's going to be called a Patrick.
Oh, I like it. I like it. So I was going to say, what's my prize? 3 times the charm. What's the prize?
Yeah, your prize is that it is now forever known by your last name.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
The rest of the crew is going to be jealous.
Oh my goodness. What did I miss?
Oh, we were talking about John's in Canton, Ohio, and he's there for a presidential thing. Is that what you're doing? Something with McKinley?
Yeah. McKinley.
Yes.
McKinley's from here, or near here.
Yeah.
Niles and
With students from the high school that he teaches at, and we were going to go. I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I don't know if we get right to the heart of the matter and what is going on in your world in Jacksonville.
Sure. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks. We had qualifying for the Jacksonville City Council special election on June 12th. And on June 11th in the afternoon, I filed all of my qualifying paperwork, stroked a check for the $2,200 and some change, and went on about my way. And then on Friday afternoon, the Duval GOP had already filed a lawsuit against me, trying to sue me off the ballot here. And their reasoning is citing a 365-day party affiliation rule. And this is a state of Florida statute that was changed this year. The statute existed, but they made a change to it. And this is, number one, the first time that this specific change has been tested. Number 2, it's the first time that anyone has sought to cure this 365-day rule by threatening or seeking to remove someone off the ballot. And I will say that the ballots have already been printed. First Coast News here in Jacksonville ran a story on it. And just today, Jacksonville Today newspaper dropped a story about it as well. So this is interesting. And I'll pause because I know that you have questions, and it will be more interesting if you ask.
Well, my first question, it's NPA. So on the ballot, does it actually say Libertarian on there?
It does. It'll say Addison, Liberty, Patrick, and then in parentheses next to it, it will say LPF, Libertarian Party of Florida. I presume that they did not want to do it as LIB for the thinking that people would assume that meant liberal or something else for confusion.
Yes.
I don't know for sure, though. But yes, that's how it's going to be on the ballot. And just to make it clear, the way the statute currently reads is if I was with any party and I said, hey, I don't want to be with this party anymore. They no longer represent my values. I want to run as independent or as no party affiliation. NPA, as you mentioned, that's also disallowed according to this statute.
Huh.
So you got to wait until the next election.
That is the way that the statute is written. However, what is interesting is there's a lot of ambiguity with the statute. Number one, it says member of your political party. We'll define member. Number two, it says that in addition to the consecutive 365-day requirement prior to qualifying that you have to meet, the oath that I signed said that I was signing that based on the qualifying date of the general election. Well, define general election, because for a lot of people that means something different, but I'm not in a primary. I'm not seeking nomination from my party. And that is also how it's written in these statutes as well. It makes it look like I'm seeking a party nomination, but instead it's kind of a jungle primary where whoever is running just all gets in at the same time. So some people are interpreting it, and journalists, some people were interpreting the general election to mean November, which would not be correct, because November for us would be a runoff, because our first general election is in August. And then some people were saying, well, the original election for 2027 would be in March of 2027. So does that mean that election? And so, because everyone is so confused by it, my understanding, even the judge asked a clarifying question to what exactly the plaintiffs were trying to do here in terms of this. I know that we've got a constitutionality claim here, and the constitutionality claim, the major one, is that you're stepping on the First Amendment right of freedom of association. This law initially was passed or brought up by the Democratic Party as a sore loser law. And by sore loser, they mean if somebody runs for office and they lose, and then they change their party and run for another race in the same election cycle, they want to prevent things like that from happening. But in this instance, the Republican Party says, no, you haven't been a member of your party as we interpret this statute for 365 days, so therefore you have to get out.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of things here. Number one, so it isn't NPA, non-party affiliation, because everybody's name and party affiliation are on the ballot, correct? Okay, so you filed sequence of events. You filed the GOP, lack of a better term, almost automatically sued, saying that you weren't following this law.
Correct.
And so you guys are contesting it, of course. So even that sore loser law, the sore loser law seems completely bizarre. It's very anti-freedom, because why wouldn't you be allowed to, if we were truly a free country, if you don't mind me going down that road, why wouldn't you be allowed to leave one party automatically and say I'm in another party and then run? To me, that's just, again, kind of trying to rig the system, which is what the GOP and Duval is trying to do as well, in my opinion. Now, word on the street, are they doing this because they're afraid you're going to take away votes? Is that what you're hearing from, like, word on the street, as opposed to, obviously they wouldn't say that in court? So word on the street.
Yes. So, I'm hearing lots of things from different sources. Somebody asked me, actually a news outlet asked me if I would consider myself to be a spoiler candidate. And I said, absolutely not, because I filed to run in February for the general election for 2027. I didn't just hop into the special election out of the clear blue yonder at the 11th hour. I've been campaigning for quite a long time, and I've been at every city council meeting -2. And I explained, the two that I've missed. One, I was seriously ill, and the other one, I was in a car accident on the way there. So that's my excused absences, if you will. But I've spoken in public comment every single one. That is something that I said in the very beginning that I was going to do every time. So that I would say absolutely not a spoiler candidate. But then on the other side of that, I would say, for people who say, well, this is a throwaway vote, I think most people would argue that their vote is their vote for them to use however they want to use it. And some people will definitely use it to say none of the above. NOTA, which is a concept that a lot of libertarians, use and apply. If they don't like their options, they will select NOTA whenever NOTA is an option. And in the Libertarian Party, NOTA is an option on, and Joe will tell you, on every single ballot that we have. It's always however many people we have plus NOTA. We all, that is always counted.
Yeah. So, and the throwaway.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, and the throwaway, you're throwing away your vote. The spoiler question is just so bizarre. I think Joe was actually on one of your social media that you had like this meme that said, let's explain this. Everybody gets one vote. Nobody's throwing their vote away, was essentially what it said. And that's so true. There's no spoiler. You vote your conscience. You're never voting wrong. I get that. Well, how can you vote for Chase Oliver? Because he has no chance of winning. I said, well, first of all, I'm in Florida, so the Democrat has no chance. Trump's winning this state, and these are people in New York talking to me, and they said, and you're going to vote for Trump, and he is. It's like, what are you talking about? Your vote doesn't matter. My vote doesn't matter. It's not a spoiler if you vote your conscience. Okay, I'm done with that.
Third parties always get told that
Yes.
they're a spoiler, whether or not that's even applicable in any given race. Often
100%.
you can take the third party vote and add it to the loser, and depending on where you are, which race it is, often that doesn't make the difference. And it's not like, ooh, and look, now they would have won. No, that usually isn't the case.
Exactly.
Yes.
And did you have a question, Mike? I thought we started to speak at the same time.
Well, not so much. A lot of what you're talking about sounds very much like laws here in New York. We have sort of loser laws. We have party restrictions when you switch parties, which would go from election to the next election. So what you're describing is something that is actually kind of standard in a lot of states. It sounds like when they made the change in Florida for whatever reason, in Jacksonville, they screwed up the process, because the legislation you're talking about is pretty consistent in its language in several other states. So that's interesting to me.
Well, so
that might
Sorry,
set
go
a
ahead.
precedent. I'm concerned that might, if it's happening in other states and those challenges lost, I wonder if that would set a precedent, which wouldn't be great for you, Addison.
Depends the wording.
Yeah.
And I just want to
Okay.
say too, just because something seems to be usual and customary, or because it is currently legal, or people think that it is, also does not mean that it's right. And this isn't about me and my candidacy. You know, I consulted attorneys before I did this. I've consulted attorneys after I've done this, and over 5 attorneys have agreed that there's constitutionality claims here. There is ambiguous language all over the place.
Sounds like
But it is definitely a poorly written and applied statute. And the oath that I signed is correct. Again, the language on the oath that I signed said blah 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 before the general election. So we're all saying, well, what even is the general election? It's almost like being in church, and if you put all the denominations of Christianity into one church and said, interpret this passage, everyone's going to have some sort of different interpretation of it. And that's almost like what is happening here. And then the amended filing from the plaintiff, because we asked for them to define who their candidate was, because there's so many layers to this. They can't even file a lawsuit unless they have a qualified candidate in the race. Otherwise, they don't have legal standing.
Right.
And so they had to name their candidate. So they came back and named their candidate. And then they essentially left out some of the language of the statute, which my legal team pointed out. And to me, that's just, you're getting into, you know, some really interesting territory when it looks like you are purposefully leaving things out of the statute to your advantage. But the suit is just not that great. I actually posted the link here to the court filings. I haven't gotten everything posted yet. And the reason I started doing that is because the circuit court, the clerk of court, has not posted everything yet. And so we had court on Friday, and then I had media intention, and then this just all sat without, you know, looking like there was a response from my legal team, even though there was. And so when I called today, they also had my gender wrong on the filing. So they had me listed as white male. So I said, can you please change this? And also, can you post the updated motion to dismiss that we filed? And they said, we're still on the 25th. We've got 3 business days to post. We're not even to the 26th yet, which was Friday.
Oh.
I decided that I was going to post this for journalists to be able to see. The original motion to dismiss was about 108 pages, and then they filed, leaving out some of the legal language. And so we filed back an amended motion to dismiss, which is about 193 pages now. what that amended motion to dismiss, aside from saying, hey, now you have to prove that your candidate is actually qualified, and because she was in law enforcement and her information was redacted, a lot of it, they're going to have to bring documents to prove that she's qualified. If she's not qualified, then they don't even have a lawsuit, period, end of story. Boom, the end. If she is, then we will argue, the rest of the merits of our case. But we have a strong argument that she is indeed not qualified with her residency. She had a homestead exemption in another at-large district. And yes, so we will find all of those things out for sure in court.
Okay, just be careful not to give away your strategy. I thought you were about to say it. So you're like, we will argue the other things that we have. Just don't give it away. You don't want them to know.
This is in a public filing that's been released. So as soon as they post it, it's out there. I mean, they have to prove that she's qualified. So that's where we're at.
I'm going to bring Joe into the conversation. Joe, you've run a handful of times. Have you either come up against this yourself or know people who have come up against it?
Yeah, I know people who have come up against this before. I've seen some people get away with it and some people not. So it could go either way.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens, honestly. But in my opinion, and I actually have said this numerous times throughout my campaigns, I don't think private organizations, aka political parties, should even be on ballots or voter registrations. These are government taxpayer funded lists and documents. So they shouldn't be. It's like having Coca-Cola or Pepsi be on your voter registration. No, they're private. They should be out. So
it would also stop people
if that was the case, we wouldn't have this issue at all anyway.
Yeah.
It would also stop people from just voting party line because they'd have to actually look people up and not just go into the booth. And so Anthony's checking in. What's going on, Anthony? Always good to see you out there. Well, if they want someone off the ballot, that means someone, as in the GOP in Duval, is scared. 100%, Anthony. Got you there. Can't wait for your next show. Anthony's a comedian. He's been on the show. Can't wait for your next one. And keep in touch on that. Yeah. Hey, Anthony, I don't know if you know, but Addison was a comedian until she decided to throw her hat into the ring as politics. So maybe someday, Anthony, you will be on my show talking politics as well. You never know.
Let's do it. Right. I did want to point out one of the things I mentioned in the news story too, and I'm giving you guys, you get more background to this also because more information has been released now, that's public record. But again, just want to say, regardless of that statute, we are affirming that we get to decide as a party, who our members are and who our candidates are. And the government doesn't get to tell us, but certainly not a rival political party should be able to determine, who our candidates are. So
absolutely.
It's going to be very interesting. And in 2023, this was the first time that we ran libertarian candidates in the city of Jacksonville. We had 3 guys running for city council. One gentleman, his name's Eric Parker. He ran for actually the same seat that I'm running in, and it was just a total coincidence that it happened this way. But see, I think what is driving a lot of this has nothing to do with me whatsoever, because in 2023, Eric Parker, as a first-time candidate, got 34.8% of the vote in a 2-way race against a Republican. And not only that, but because he had recently been a Republican until some of how they handled some things with COVID, he left the party at that time. There was about 20 Republicans who decided to openly, publicly support him. And he ended up on a voter guide that I think that Republicans and Republican adjacent organizations put out. And he ended up on it as a libertarian and not the Republican candidate. So a lot of people received sanctions from the Republican Party. And it seems that there was some leadership who were kind of ousted after that from the Republican Party as well. So they were supporting a libertarian candidate and they got in trouble. So then here I come along with my big mouth, and I'm out everywhere, speaking and just meeting everyone and having a good time. Meanwhile, my opponent has been sitting on, $80,000 or so and not really out in any open forums except for a select few. So I could see, how they would be, concerned.
So what you're saying is this probably the genesis of suing you started with Eric Parker?
Right.
Yeah. John, how do you feel about this? Any questions? I bet you're
Well,
like, wow, I'm glad it's
yeah,
not the
I have a
Florida
big
Democratic Party.
question that could my city, Daytona Beach, just decide that they'll have partisan races? I thought the legislature decided that because didn't we have a bill years ago, Joe would probably remember, where they wanted to make the school board races partisan, and the legislature was weighing in, not the individual school boards. So the thing is, I still understand how the city of Jacksonville could be nonpartisan, but every other city I know of in Florida is nonpartisan. And if it's nonpartisan, then your political party is supposed to be completely irrelevant. And I did hear this, it's kind of interesting, just food for thought, that Corey Bird, our Secretary of State in Florida, had stated on Political Connections a few weeks ago that if somebody, because it was about qualifying week, and if somebody doesn't live where they say they live, that it's not his job. He can't kick them out. The state of Florida can't just kick the candidate out. Someone has to challenge it in order for the candidate to be kicked out. So I had thought, and when Joe and I had run for office, that they actually checked, and they checked that I was a Democrat for 365 days, because I thought all that was checked. But apparently it's not, that you have to do a challenge. And I've heard of the challenges on Florida Politics blog, which is real good. They talk about this person challenge, and they have Paula Stark with her issue, which I understand, where she handed in her financial report and it was handed back and all that. There might be more to it, and I'm not even gonna. That's all I read, and so that one's in litigation to some extent, and I don't know what happened there. I'm just from what the news reports, but there are issues, and then people have done that.
You, Addison, are you in the runoff August 18th?
So August 18th is the first election for this special election. Yeah. And it's a three-way race. So there's a Republican, there's a Democrat, and then there's me as a Libertarian in the race. And if we go to a runoff, then we will be in November having the runoff.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. So the special election on that's right around the corner. Are you guys
less than 50 days?
Are you guys being fast tracked by the court?
Yes. So less than 3 hours after I was served, the plaintiff filed a motion to, request an expedited hearing. So yeah, they fast tracked that. And so, in turn, we're, fast tracking back that, we're saying, hey, yes, we're on board. We're cooperating here. We also need information fast track too, but the ballots have already been printed. So at this point, if anybody is stricken from the ballot, then they'll have to send out a letter with all of the vote by mail ballots, or after them, depending on when the cutoff is, to let them know, hey, so and so is disqualified or what have you. But I'm still confident that that's not going to happen for me. That I'm going to remain on the ballot, and worst case scenario, if I'm not on the ballot, that doesn't change anything for me, like in terms of my campaign, because we turn right around and have a March 2027 election for our 4-year terms, which means qualifying is in January. So I just keep going.
I see.
Yeah. It's a lot to turn around and do. I am learning so much in this very short period of time. I mean, I filed in February, and then turn around and file, for 2027, and turn around and file in June for August. It's just absolutely wild, learning campaign finance and everything on the fly, and largely doing everything independently, being my own campaign treasurer, But I will say I've got a good legal team, and I've got
Great.
someone who's close to me, who's helping me manage, the media and things like that. So that gives me a little bit of a breather to screen people and help me schedule things. So that's extremely helpful. And then the Libertarian Party Executive Committee approved a resolution. So they are affirming that I am their candidate and that they are in full support of me. And I've got that, similar thing from the Duval County Libertarian Party as well. And hoping that will be coming publicly from the National Party also. And
Great. I'll look for that.
we're just going to keep on advocating for more freedom and for voters' rights to choose.
Let's go around again. Anybody, am I missing anybody here? Any questions outstanding? Did I miss anything, folks? Panel?
No questions. It's, to me, it may be all very new to you guys in Florida. This sounds like a regular election in New York. It's standard. And this happens in a lot of states where you have the majority party will just sue anyone, third party, anyone else. Anyone and everyone else gets sued. And that's why, there's the rule of you need double the number of signatures and petitions. Why? Because if you have less than that, you'll get sued. If it's double, it's not worth the lawsuit. But if it's less, and the lawsuits happen because it's about nuisance. It's not, and everyone knows this. Legally, it's all kinds of different reasons. The real reason, it's about a nuisance. You're wasting money. You're wasting time. You're frustrated, and they want you to drop out of the race rather than be in the race.
Exactly.
Because whether or not you're going to win, it doesn't matter. It's just you shouldn't be there. They don't want you there. They don't even want to consider what you could or could not do. And so it's kind of like lawfare, I guess you can call it.
Yes.
And standard. In New York, it's Democrats that do that. Florida, it's Republicans. Depends on which state you're in. Third parties sadly get screwed because wherever you go, they're the third party. So they get screwed and they wind up getting into this problem every time. I've talked to many candidates across the country. This is actually rather standard.
Yeah.
Right. In New York, Larry Sharp has been sued by both Larry Sharp, who's libertarian, running as an independent this year for governor of New York. Everybody should follow him and read his policies. They're great. Often repeated on this show. He's been sued by the Republicans and by the Democrats. Mm-hmm. He's run. This is his third time running for governor, and just depends. It's almost like they flip a coin. Okay, this year we'll sue.
Well, I've never been sued before, and I think I'm the first libertarian in the state of Florida to have been sued over a campaign, I believe. And I'm the first libertarian in Jacksonville to be in a special election. I'm the only woman who's a libertarian who's running in the state of Florida right now for 2026, and also as of right now for 2027. And I've just gotten some off the wall questions from people who were concerned about why I would even want to do this to myself. They said, have you not seen how they treat women in this environment? Have you not seen how women are not successful when they run? So why would you even want to do that? And essentially I just said, well, I'm scrappy. Don't worry about me, and also you don't know if you don't try. And sure. I have said it before that I wanted to show people that an average everyday person that's not, wealthy or that doesn't have a fancy title can run for local office. And I'm staying in this for as long as I can to fight it because, I want to prove that. So I believe that we have some very qualified people in my city that would run or that could run for office if they felt like they could. And I'm hoping that I am an example to other people and that we can just keep on rolling with this. More regular, everyday voices who know what's going on in their city, like on the ballot.
Since you brought that up, it's an interesting question. How are you being treated as a woman? Do you think, I won't preface it, just that question. How are you being treated?
I think for a long time, people just kind of ignored me because who am I? I'm just some random person coming out of the woodwork. But I think I've kind of forced people to pay attention because now they've seen that I'm able to collaborate with other people and to build coalitions, and that it doesn't really matter what party people are. And I brought it up in my last city council comment. I said, can you please pay attention? We're all advocating for the same thing here, and none of us are in the same political party. It's pretty bad. Like when we're all coming together and saying, please, this is what our city needs. And the leadership just, does something completely to the antithesis of that.
But
Alrighty. Good, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, but it's not, you're not feeling a pressure based on gender just because, but more so because of
third party, irrelevant, that it's a nice sentiment, but nobody's going to take you seriously. And I choose to disagree with that, because the court of public opinion is making themselves known right now as we speak, as these things are coming out. So we'll see.
So I know you have a law team, but where can people go to help if they want to help, contribute to the cost of your lawyers and just generally to your campaign?
Sure. They can go to addisonlibertypatrick.com and follow me on any social media that they have that they feel so inclined. I share updates there as well. And I'm here to just be a positive person and somebody who's tackling people who tell me, no, somebody's got to do it. I was doing that for Michael's benefit. I was waiting for a snarky comment after that. Just
what? I'm happy that you're running. I'm just none of this to me. I'm in New York State. It's a incredible bureaucracy, and it is a incredible single state, Democrat-run state. So none of this surprises me. I've seen it happen far too often. But I'm glad run, win. Take on the nuisance lawsuit, make precedent, run the best case, run the best race you can, win if you can. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And John, I'm picking on Michael because we got to talk before one week when you weren't on, and so I have that rapport with him now. He was very, very helpful, gave me some good feedback, and I asked him some questions, after the show too. But thanks for having me on, letting me tell a little bit about it. And when the full thing has transpired, I'm sure there will be a lot. If you get into that filing, the recent one that I posted on the website there, you'll see what I mean. It will blow your mind.
No,
there's no way that I can put it into words and condense it. I'm curious to see. You're throwing stuff over there now?
I am. I'm mad. I'm mad as hell this is happening to you.
It's going to be interesting. You are creating legal precedent, which means that is going to be very important.
Yes,
that's true.
Because they'll be referred to always.
That's true, but the biggest precedent is that we are now calling 3 appearances on the show a Patrick.
There's that too.
Legal schmiegel. I got a show to run.
That's right.
And it seems weird, Addison, that there's something, because I come from 2 generations of lawyers, so there are a lot of lawyers in our family, and there is a thing where you try to sue on something, but there's no credibility to it whatsoever. So they could kick certain, I don't know, what they see as credibility. But the thing is, there's a thing with legal system on its face. It's not right on its face.
Yeah.
Like on its face, it's false. Like it's absolutely, you have no proof that, let's say you're suing somebody, you have no proof that you were harmed. And so the thing is, in this case, it's kind of like, oh, you're running as this. And you could be like, I've never changed my voter registration. What do you mean by the word change my membership? And they can say, what is membership? That's too vague. And so your registration is something you actually change. And if you didn't change it within the 365 days, it seems like on its face, this would be thrown out of court, unless it's something I just don't see. Because if you didn't change your party registration, then what is membership? I mean, you go bowling with the Republicans, Democrats, or whoever. I mean, that's membership. That's membership. That's not a
and that varies. That varies too. Like I think in Florida, I don't think I don't think we can charge, Joe. I think we've talked about it. I don't think we can charge money for membership. And I think some states can charge money.
Correct.
So that's a different thing. So I think we consider membership of our party to be somebody who signs our non-aggression principle and, says that they're a libertarian. And I actually showed my voter registration card on the news last week. And my voter registration card was issued this year by the Duval County Supervisor of Elections. And it says LPF since 2018.
That should
how about that?
do it right there.
That's
So on
That's
its
good.
face,
That's really
it should be invalid. That's the weird
Yeah.
part. That
Look at
you
this.
can go to a court and be thrown out immediately because,
cool.
and then say, what other evidence you have that I'm not LPF? Because there's no other evidence. I mean, membership and what? I mean, that's
It's a nuisance lawsuit.
yeah.
It's a nuisance
I
lawsuit
agree, Mike.
seeking to define vague terms in new legislation. It's not unheard of. People do
I'm
that.
excited
Yeah.
to see how my attorney explains all of that in a short period of time, because of course people are going to be reading this, but it is literally so much. There's so many things wrong. It's insane. It's like, just throw all of the reasons in one of those bingo balls and just draw one and pick it out. And that should be enough, to get this lawsuit tossed.
But the law
But
should
yeah,
be
like
tossed.
you said, precedent, and to get people to think about, how we are wording stuff that is out there on the books, if these things are so, and they are so very important. So let's start thinking of it. And a lot of people are saying, well, whether she did or whether she didn't, do anything wrong, right? Their words. Why was this enacted in the same election cycle? If it was voted, if it was signed into law, it shouldn't have gone effect until at least the following year, not the same year in the middle of an election cycle. So there's as many opinions on this as there are, cloud formations in the afternoon in the state of Florida when we have all these thunderstorms. It's so many.
Joe, any last thoughts from you on this?
Like I said before, I don't even think political parties should be on the ballot, period, or voter registration. It should be completely nonpartisan. As Addison mentioned earlier, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all trying to, we all abide by this, the Constitution right here. There's no mention of political parties in this thing. So those laws, I hope, if anything comes of this, I hope, well, this is a pretty big ask actually, but I hope partisan races and partisan voter registration get thrown out. I hope. That would be my wish of the outcome of this.
Could be a like the ember that sparks the fire on that. I just had another question for you. So, it's not like you started running yesterday. You've been running for a while. So are you guys looking at like a why now from the GOP? Like, why would they do this now? Isn't it?
They can't
Why
really
did they
do
do it?
anything until somebody qualifies. So my understanding is you can file all day long, and a lot of people will go sign some papers. And then when you go look on the Supervisor of Elections page, you'll see their name there underneath the race. So they can say they ran for office, right? And then they'll immediately withdraw. Some people, they'll go qualify, pay the fee, and then immediately withdraw. Blows my mind, but until you actually qualify and you turn in all your petitions or you stroke a check and you sign the oath and all of these things, my understanding is that is the point where you bring the lawsuit. So nobody could have brought anything earlier because they would have had no way of knowing if I was even going to get in the race or not in the special election. And it gave me pause too because of the accelerated timeline and all of that. So I just thought hard about it and decided to go for it. I mean, what do I really have to lose here? And then I got sued and I laughed, because of course that would occur, when I have carefully planned something out and sought guidance and things like that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and look forward to talking more about it when it's over with.
The joy of being a first-time candidate.
What?
The joy of being a first-time candidate.
First time candidate, lots of firsts. And I see this as a learning experience, not just for me, but for everybody else in the party and for people that support grassroots candidates of all parties, for people who watch shows like this, you know, Charles, and come on to learn more about what's happening in their local area. I'm hoping that this will be an educational experience for everybody else. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. You know, I want to talk about, once it's over, exactly how everything happened, right? The things that I was surprised that I didn't know, the things I was surprised that I did know. And I want to encourage other people to run, or at least know more about it before they, you know, decide not to rule it out, because I think so many more people are qualified to get out there. I mean, why not?
That'd be a great show when the campaign is over. You know, no matter what the outcome is. Yeah, we should definitely do that. Anthony's forming his platform already. He said, I think candidates need to campaign to all the registered voters that have bad credit. There's a platform for you right there, Anthony. That you're beginning to become a politician when you're starting to formulate your platform.
That is a strategy.
And it's strange that the state of Florida, they vote in these laws, and then the Secretary of State doesn't want to be the arbitrator of all this, because who else is supposed to be the person that runs elections? The Secretary of State of the state of Florida. And now the courts have their say. The courts can overrule the Secretary of State, of course. But the thing is, the Secretary of State is in charge of the elections, and you'd think that to help a decent candidate, that they could intervene in this, and say, because it's ridiculous in a way to let crazy lawsuits happen, and the legislature can make laws, and then people have to defend themselves. It's the strangest thing.
Secretary of State can't, because it would be partisan and it would be beneficial if they interfered on behalf of any candidate under any circumstance. They would instead want and insist that it go courts, because the courts are neutral, so that they can arbitrate it and they can determine whether or not the underlying law is actually constitutional and valid. So they don't want to get in the middle of that process, and they would be considered politically biased if they did, even if no bias existed, even if that was not the intention, but that would be the legal, because I can tell you right now, if you tried that in New York State, every Republican, every third party will say that, no, it's bias. It doesn't matter if it is or isn't, but that gives us now legal standing for everything else we want to do. It just creates more litigation. The right thing for the Secretary of State to do is step out of that and say, no, let the courts handle it. It's about legal definitions and process and the underlying legality. That's what the judicial branch is for. Let them do their thing. And then once that's done, the bureaucracy of running that, whatever the result is, that's on the Secretary of State and its subordinates. So that's why you see it happening like that. And that's the way it actually should happen.
And that's what they told me from the supervisor of election standpoint. I went to an information session before I ever decided to run, and they said that they operate strictly in a ministerial function. So they will double check to make sure that you have all of the boxes checked and the lines filled out, etc. And anything glaring, they'll point out, hey, you need to double check and see if this is correct. But they can't tell you what to do or, how to go about doing it. They refer you to get an attorney, get an election law attorney, and to seek out legal advice. They just provide the information and ministerial function. So I got a big binder that's my campaign Bible that they gave me with a bunch of the statutes listed in there and how to file reports and this, that, and the other. But I did want to say too, because I forgot to mention this, as everybody continues to, try to put me in these neat little boxes that I just don't fit into. I've said it publicly, but I want to just keep saying it again. The Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, all parties, they operate differently depending on where you are. So I will say that I've been talking to a candidate who's a libertarian out from up north, from Massachusetts, and he said his challenges are essentially the exact opposite. They're the same things, but his challenges are with Democrats and not the Republicans here, because that's, and he's an elected official right now. And so I've just said it over and over. This is not like an I hate the GOP and I love the Democrats or vice versa. This is, and there are people in our party who say, this is why you can't be friends with, Democrats and Republicans. They're not your friends. And I say I beg to differ, because until I, know how people think and why they think it, to me, that doesn't make for very good collaboration or persuasion if you don't know how people think and why they think it. I have friends all over. I have friends in the Duval GOP, and they don't like this any more than I do, the ones that I know. And unfortunately, because the way the law is written, even people who may be running for office right now, they can't drop their party and do something else because they're stuck with this 365-day rule. So I suspect that there will be people that leave the party because of this, but the Democrats are not innocent, in all of this either. They're, like I mentioned, there's a Democrat candidate, and there's some mudslinging going on between those two parties as well that I am just going to, stay out of, because that does not have anything to do with me. But it's interesting to have a very front row seat to all of this. And yeah.
All right, Joe, I look like you were about to say something. You got something?
I was going to say a couple things. One of them I'll keep my mouth shut about, but I'll say the other one. It's good thing you gave me some time to calm down about what I was.
Darn, we missed the fireworks.
Yeah, you missed the fireworks for sure. But one of the points was I went through a couple of different issues during my qualifying this time around, the same time Addison was qualifying. And the state, I had to file with the state. The state called me twice because I did two things wrong. And they said, you're not going to qualify unless you fix this thing. So I had to fix that thing, and I did that twice. So then I was qualified, right? That should have happened in Addison's case. And if they qualified her without giving her due knowledge or something, then I think that's it. That's over. Like, she qualified, that's it. They checked the boxes. They certified her as qualified. No take backsies is my opinion. So
there's so many angles to this. I definitely want to see Addison, definitely keep in touch. And we'll have you back on for updates as it goes along, because there's just so many different layers and angles to a situation like this.
Yes, and as Michael said, it's not new everywhere, but it is certainly new to me, new to the Libertarian Party of Florida, the lawsuit, and just everything is new to me. And the people that are helping me with my campaign, it's all new to them too. We look at something and we're like, what is this for real? Or are we reading this wrong? And we're like, no, that is really what it is. That there's just some crazy stuff out there. So
yeah. All righty. Well, thanks for the information, and thanks everybody for your comments on that.